Hey, what do you think of the new intro? You know, it's funny, I did that ironically for the little goof video I did for the Little Wars TV's Quick Strike After Action Report, and I got some positive responses. Even Biscotti loves it. So I figured, why not put that into the regular rotation? It's just a quick 5 seconds, kind of help you get in the right flexible frame of mind. Today we're going to be talking about the modern terrain that I'm putting together for a Black Ops campaign. I know I've been promising this for a long time. Just take a little bit longer because I want to get the whole box together. I like to finish a project before I play a game and then move on to another project. As you can see, and I've showed you these before, this is what these were all purchased from gcminis.com. And the couple here on the right, or excuse me, on the left are, they're done. They're fully painted. This guy is an odd kind of, it has a kind of like a matte board texture. As you can see, it's been laser cut, and it's very light. It's considerably lighter than the usual MDF style terrain. You can tell from the color that Taco Bell over here is that MDF, with the exception of the printed tile roof here. Love that missionary style, right? The shoe boxes that all of our fast food places in America look like today, so boring, so little personality. But hey, I guess it saves our corporate overlords a couple of bucks, and isn't that what being a nation is all about? Saving billionaires money. So this, you'll notice, is the MDF style as well, this 7-Eleven, and I have not glued the actual convenience store down just yet because I need to be able to get into these fuel pumps to paint those up. So once I get everything painted, the last thing I'll do will be well, it won't be the last thing I'll do. But after I get each of these painted, then I'll drop that in place. And then I'll probably hide that seam or make it look a little more natural with garbage cans, loose litter. We're going to be dressing that up a little bit today. But the big thing I wanted to show you, we're gaming at a high level here. Oh, also, this is one more little GC mini. It's like $3. It's a cute little mat board. And so what we're going to do while we talk about a few other things is we'll add a little texture to the base here. This is like $3.50, which is great. I mean, it just provides one more bit of blocking terrain. Real cheap, real easy. Went together like a champ. This is what I wanted to show you. And I got a couple of figures out here to show you a little scale issue that I had. I didn't purchase one of these nice professional bases for the Taco Bell. As a result, I found myself in a situation where I was struggling to understand what I was going to put this on. And after going back and forth and trying to figure out, do I want to buy another 4x4 piece of MDF from the local hardware store and then have to cut it down and risk, I thought, you know what, there's got to be another way. So I looked around. This is a 6x8 art. It's a canvas panel. And unlike the stretched canvas, it's just kind of put on a cardboard back. And I thought that would work. Glued Taco Bell down, and it's the right thickness. You know, it's very rigid. It's the right thickness for a curb. The problem is that when I glued Taco Bell down, it's actually bent and warped a little bit. If this was a building at 25 millimeters, I would probably go ahead and run with it. The problem is that that amount of warpage puts this here. Let me bring the camera down. To give you more of a model's eye view. And I think this kind of shows a little bit better. There's old Poultry Joe, and here's, I think that's our boy. That's Will the Third. I don't like that warpage. It adds, I mean, that's almost a 6-inch gap that puts this curb at almost knee-high to 15-millimeter guys, even with the bases. If you come around to the side, I wouldn't worry so much about that gap there. We can hide that with planter boxes and whatnot. But the fact that she's so rickety and rocks back and forth, that's just a no-go in my estimation. Zooming back out, frankly, I might still run with this. I might shrug my shoulders. You know, I don't like to make perfect the enemy of the good, but there is one other consideration that is equally as important for these terrain features, and that is our very useful box. One of the limitations that I use to enhance my creativity is finding a way around exactly how much stuff can I put in this little box. And there's plenty of room. Underneath these train tracks, we've got a couple of more smaller extra boxes that train can squeeze into. But the big thing is, I made sure when I purchased the 7-Eleven that it would fit inside this box. Likewise, I made sure that our diner would fit, and here's the big problem. That extra inch just kills the ability to drop this. It does become a bit of a puzzle, making sure that it all fits. But that little extra bit means that I just don't have the room to store these. Well, wait a minute, maybe I do. Look at that. You might think I just disproved my own thesis. Hey, it wouldn't be the first time. But honestly, that's short-term thinking. If I can take off 1 more inch around this guy, then I'll be able to slide a few more, I don't know, containers or heavy excavation equipment, that sort of thing. So we are going to go ahead and replace that base. This is called mat board. The frame shops around here, your Michaels, your Ben Franklins, your whoever else, comes in very thin strips. And as you can see, it is perfect. It's just about the same height as the base of a figure, washer and base combined. And the good news is, if you're careful, it doesn't warp all of that much. Let's get down low so we can kind of see this a little bit better. There's a little bit of warpage right now, but if I glue my base down and put some weight on it, the good news is this rigid structure of your fast food taco franchise will help keep everything rigid and together. And as you can see, I was able to get the perfect dimensions. I'm a little worried about that gap right there. This support for the roof looks a little fragile. I'm going to want to build that up somehow, some way. Maybe just weeds. But I was able to cut it to the perfect size that I can slap a figure running down through the dark alley. And then that's the case. Now, one thing I'll show you here. See the little rounded corners? That's huge when you're working with this mat board. The pointy corners are very fragile, and they will tend to fray. I cut the back sides well-rounded too, to allow for cars coming around. At some point, we'll have to build an ordering station, one more sign, and that's why we have what looks to be a lot of excess space on the back side. I may put it over here, keep that lined up perfectly. Something like that. So we've got lots of space, a little bit of room to play with here. And again, I'll probably leave that broad enough to mount one figure so we don't have any tipple-topples. It's going to get a little bit thicker here, as you're going to see in just a minute. These little grommets, this is just a little off-cut square of the MDF that was left over. I put it there for a little light to give a little more texture, a little more interest back here. Probably at some point we'll buy a dumpster to put back there for more cover. These are available at your local hardware store. They are, what are these for? I think these are for lamps. It's threaded on the opposite side, but it looks exactly like the little vent hoods. And as you can see over here in the diner, I did the same thing over there. That's what it looks like once you get it primed. All primed up. This is absolutely a switch for a lamp. That you turn this, it screws on backwards, and then you can turn it clockwise, and that's what turns your lamp on and off. Those are like 50 cents a piece, and they're already textured for you. So you don't have to build your own. You can just go pull them right out of the drawer. Look in the electrical department or in the lighting department for those. These are not high-value tips, right? This is not complicated, guys. Put a nice big glob there. Hopefully it'll run down and help secure that little column. Normally, now the first time around I used wood glue to affix this to the canvas board. Wood glue works great for these MDF buildings, or so I'm told. I'm kind of a neophyte at this. But now that I've got a lot of the canvas there in place, I'm just going to go ahead and use your basic general craft glue. We'll leave this window close enough that when the guys come up in their big hoopties to get their taco order, they don't have to lean out across the curb. And then the only other question is, how far forward do we want to put it? We're leaving enough room for planter boxes up there. or hedges or bushes, just anything I can use for cover, anything I can use to add tactical options for the players. Likewise back here, we'll make sure we just get it lined up. That's looking pretty good, and I chose these two figures for a reason. I mean, two reasons actually. They were ready to hand, but also you can see I've got two different size bases, and both of those are going to work great. He fits right in that area, and so does he. So we're going to let that dry, and while we're waiting for that, we'll put that aside and weight it down. Just let it dry to become tacky, and then we'll add a little more texture. By way of adding a little bit of extra texture to my 7-Eleven, this is that mat board I was telling you about. See how good it looks? Just that little bit of extra texture makes a big difference. I think the base of this is the is MDF, but that is all mat board, and it looks really good. Well, we'll set that aside. Now, I'm not doing any, like, if you're in the mood for some amazing tricks that'll change your tables forever and will completely change the way that you miniature war game, you've come to the wrong video. This is just a way of me keeping my hands busy and engaging in a little bit of fun craftsmanship while we chat about the hobby in general. And one of the first things I wanted to talk to you guys about, I was watching Rocky's War Room the other day, and they were talking about the different innovations that we have seen in miniature wargaming. Oh, see the nice little curbs? Don't those add just a nice little bit of curbing texture to the board here? Keeps it from being just all gray. So we'll tap those in place, and I wonder if you can hear, I got the sirens going again. I must not live in the best part of town. So this is a way just to give us something to look at, something to do while we chat about the hobby. And one of the first things I wanted to mention is Rocky's War Room. As I said, I was watching one of their live streams. It's a great show. Highly recommend it. I just had to fix that white balance, and then I guess I forgot to start recording. All I'm doing is putting a layer of glue down here and then sprinkling some sand on it. As you can see, there's a fairly big rock right there. This particular terrain piece, as I said earlier, was fairly inexpensive. However, it looked a little bit rickety once I got it all glued. There's no pegs for the struts there. And I wasn't sure that just the 6 little points were enough to secure this. So I added the rock, which gives the billboard superstructure, if you will, another vertical place. It also adds a little bit of weight. As you can imagine, because this is all just cardstock, it's fairly light. That rock adds just like 1 or 2 more ounces that makes it a lot more stable on the table. So Rocky's War Room was talking about how there's only so many different ways that you can miniature war game, and how a lot of the rule systems that we play are rehashes of other ideas or reskins of other ideas. And they mentioned the clicky games, which were I think this is already ready to add a little bit more texture. I'm going to turn these curbs into planters. So the clicky games kind of hit, I think it was WizKid, hit the perfect trifecta. They had pre-painted miniatures, but wait, there's more. Those pre-painted miniatures were also, they were constructed in a way that as your figure took damage, its stat lines went down, and you'd click the base, and the hit points would go down, and maybe the speed and attack and defense. Genius. All 3 of those wrapped up together. It only stood to reason that they were going to be very successful with it. And people copied those mechanics because, you know, if it works, why wouldn't you? One of the things that I thought about while I was listening, now I listen to Rocky's War Room on my commute home. It's late at night for them, but I'm West Coast, United States, plus a few hours. So I can't really chime into the conversations. More is the pity. But I got to thinking about it, and one of the big innovations over the last couple of years has been solo rules. The AIs have improved, and we have seen a number of games come out that are explicitly for solo play. I'm thinking about games like Rangers of Shadow Deep. And we've seen an increase in the number of games that acknowledge the fact that a solo style play. What was that other one? The kind of pulpy adventure game. Tales of Suspense? Twisted Tales? I can't remember what it's called. All right, I had to look it up. Perilous Tales is the one I'm thinking of. But I understand it's available for free, and it is explicitly a solo war game. And then you look at all the games that acknowledge the fact that, hey, you can play this as a faction game, or go ahead and run it solo. I know the new Stargrave is designed that way. Or at least it has a module, Planet 28, that we really need to get back to the Black Raven. It has an expansion that includes a nice AI. In fact, includes an entire solo campaign you can play. That's the big innovation from 2019 and 2020. And most of the games, remember, if it came out in 2020, that's probably because it was in the works in 2019. So here's the thing that I wanted to talk to you about today. This is what I want you to watch out for. All of the lockdowns for last year's silliness happened right at about the time that the solo wargaming rules were already coming out. I'm just saying those two facts fit together. Conveniently so. I'm kind of wondering if the lockdowns weren't a result of big wargaming, picking up the phone and calling the president and saying, we need to move a lot more units this year. Games Workshop, I understand, had a banner year in 2020. Their stock prices rocketing to the moon. I mean, Night Watch is a great solo game. And it came out just a little bit before, and I'm not saying Patrick Todoroff didn't call the president and say, I need you to lock everyone in their houses so I can sell a few more copies of this book. I'm not saying he did that. I'm just saying it's in the realm of possibility. I'm watching you, big wargaming. I'm not sure about you guys. It's all just a little too convenient, isn't it? Sleep tight tonight, guys. I'm praying for you.